First measles, now tuberculosis. What's next? The plague? How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a quote-unquote small number of tuberculosis cases confirmed with Chicago area migrants. Now, this comes after they had a measles outbreak at a migrant shelter in Chicago. I'm wondering what disease that we really don't face too much in the USA are they going to bring back next? And will it be a massive breakout? Remember, just a few years ago, a lot of the same proponents and advocates of the migrants said, if you don't get this shot that's brand new, experimental, never had it before, you can't go outside, you can't go to your job, you can't get on the airplane, you can't drive your car, you can't do anything without getting that shot. Meanwhile, we have the southern border wide open, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry from every corner of this world with no shots ever. I'm talking about the childhood shots you would get, whether you agree or not. Most of all American citizens would get shots as a little boy or girl in school. They don't have any of that, and they're allowed to just come into our country unfettered. You don't know what they have. When are we going to see a big outbreak of some kind of random, crazy medieval disease that's been long eradicated here in this USA? Now, before I go any further, because I'm getting triggered, let's get into the actual news clip. Of course, I will play the clip in the box. Also, if you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
As health officials ramp up contact tracing at migrant shelters, we spoke with two medical experts today who tell us while this is cause for concern, the general public has no reason to panic.
Outbreaks occur in close quarters.
The Chicago Department of Public Health confirms cases of tuberculosis at a few different shelters. Officials call the number of cases small, but won't disclose which sites they've originated from.
Now, the question is, okay, you got a small number of cases, but what is the risk for a spread? Because at a certain point, these people are going to be in your community, and you may have, little kids or whoever who have not been inoculated just in the same proximity with these people. You're going to have a problem. You're going to have a serious problem.
The people who are most at risk of tuberculosis are the other migrants living in that shelter.
This comes in the midst of a measles outbreak at the Pilsen shelter.
There is no effective vaccine against tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis is an infectious bacterial disease that mainly affects the lungs.
It can only be spread by someone with active tuberculosis disease, someone who is actively coughing up these droplets.
So that's even worse. I thought it was a vax against TB, but it's not. So if you have these migrants with TB, are they being quarantined? Are they being told they can't leave their home? Are they being told to wear the ineffective mask? Like, what are they being told to do? Because if they just come to your community and they got TB, and they're going to the stores, they're going to school, they're going to wherever, they're going to spread it. And Chicago is just one place, but migrants don't just go to Chicago, they go all over the country. You have the people that are given asylum and given plane rides and whatnot, but then you also have the gotaways. And they all could have a lot of these diseases. That's a big problem. Aside from the jobs issue and how much money we spent on these people, as I said before, we spent $450 billion U.S. American cold hard cash dollars on migrants since summertime 2022. $450 billion. That's just the dollar cost. What about the health costs? The health risk to regular, average, everyday American citizens? I think the risk might be pretty high, but I digress.
That is how it gets spread.
Dr. Gary Rayshak, a pediatrician with Northwestern Medicine Huntley Hospital, says open air facilities like shelters can lead to increased transmission.
The important thing is trying to figure out who there has the active disease and properly treating them.
Meanwhile, city officials say,
you know what a good way to stop all this disease would be to just not have them come here. It's simple. It's so simple. A lot of the problems we're trying to fix with other solutions could be prevented, so then there'd be no need for these solutions.
About 10 to 20% of residents of Central and South America have latent TB. Infectious disease specialist at the University of Chicago, Dr. Anuda Hazra, explains latent TB is not transmissible, but can still result in a positive test.
So, I mean, if it's not transmissible, what was the point in you talking about it? I think the reason why you brought it up is because if it's latent, it could become active. And if it's active, then it could spread. And that's an issue. You're talking about South America. How about the Indian subcontinent? How about Africa? How about some of the Europeans that are coming across? Okay, you have no idea who has what or how they're able to spread it or whatever. This is going to be a serious issue. It reminds me of when the Haitian earthquake happened, and RIP to everybody that died in that. That was really tragic. But when the Haitian earthquake happened, they brought in workers from Nepal to the UN. They put up a UN station, and you had a bunch of Nepalese guys in there, and they had a septic tank attached to the UN building. Now, these guys had cholera in their system from Nepal, and when the septic tank broke, some of the sewage got in the river, and there was a massive cholera outbreak because Haitians were using that river for bathing and water and everything else. The cholera outbreak was maybe even as bad as the earthquake.
Latent tuberculosis can then reactivate to become active tuberculosis at some point in the future. They can still receive anti-tuberculosis therapy to make sure that that latent infection is.
So yeah, that's what's happening. Yeah, shout out to all you guys out there, Windy City, Chicago. Tuberculosis, congratulations. Now you got to ask yourself, okay, they're saying that it's contained to the migrants and it's migrants in the shelter who are at risk of getting it. So do the migrants never leave the shelter? Do the migrants not interact with the community? And they're talking about giving the migrants jobs, right? They're talking about, oh, well, they do the jobs that Americans don't want to do, like what? Food handling raw chicken, handling produce, things of this nature. Sometimes you'll have recall on food. They'll say, oh, it's an E. coli outbreak, because that happens when you get cow manure, fertilizer, or whatever in the water. That's a different story. Anyway, that can happen. But what about workers who are handling the food and they have an infectious disease? Now, of course, they have on certain equipment to protect themselves, but not really. When you're talking about the guys out there picking cabbage and lettuce and cucumbers or whatever, I'm not seeing these guys wearing hazmat suits. These guys might got on a pair of cowboy boots at best. Might be some flip-flops with no socks on, a pair of blue jeans, a wife beater, and no gloves, picking your vegetables. Meanwhile, they got TB, they got measles, they got all kind of stuff, cholera, a little bit of everything. So again, some of the same people that said, you got to get a vax, you got to wear a mask, you can't leave your home because of the risk of C-19, are allowing every Tom, Dick, and Harry from all over the world to come to this country. No childhood shots, latent tuberculosis, measles, plague, even a little bit of everything, and you got to deal with it. Funny how that works, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about these sick migrants coming across the border and going to your community? Are you in favor of it? Are you against it? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This is a big time national security risk, because not only are you having straight up criminal aliens who are involved in gang banging coming across, selling drugs, guns, burglarizing people, robbing people, deleting people. You have that going on, but there's also people that are sick, bringing in highly infectious disease. I'm sorry, I don't want to catch tuberculosis. I'm over here just minding my business, going to the grocery store, picking up some rutabagas, some sushi, and then I got some dude from who knows where in the world coughing, and then his droplets get on my nose or on my tongue, and now I'm sick. I don't want that. Again, a good way to prevent this from happening, a good way to solve this problem would be to close the border up. Why must we make complicated solutions, expensive solutions for things that don't cost that much and are not that complicated? I don't really get it, but whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.